project started in 2007, 2008, when the bankers decided to blow up the economy, but instead of blaming the bankers, the people at the top have managed to get some people to start blaming their fellow working class persons, be they Muslims, black people, Asians, whoever it is that they don't like the look of. Well, enough is enough. We've got to see through their lies. And when hundreds of thousands of us march to stop Trump when he visits this country, we've got to use that spirit to educate people about the fascist threat in Britain and elsewhere in the world. We can't wait until they do have a street movement numbering in tens of thousands, as they did in Germany eventually in the 30s. We can't wait for them to start getting elected to the British Parliament like they've been elected in Italy, where you now have fascists in government who are talking about expelling 500,000 people. And Salvini has said yesterday, I believe, that he wants to turn the reception centres into detention centres, which is another name for concentration camps, invented, by the way, by the British ruling class to concentrate the South African population, and of course taken on board by Hitler. But it's happening sadly again today in Europe. We can't let that happen in Britain. We come from a proud anti-fascist tradition in this country, and actually they have a proud anti-fascist tradition in Germany as well. Although we lost, but we still fought a very fine battle, and that tradition was on show in Berlin last week, where 70,000 people marched against the new fascists of the AfD in Germany, which is something we have to applaud. But we have to go back to our history and remember Cable Street, when we fought back in our tens of thousands. Remember Notting Hill in the 1950s, when people fought back. And remember the Anti-Nazi League in the 1970s, which we have to revisit in a new form, but we have to revisit in the sense of getting the equivalents of Brian Clough. People might remember, you know, football from the back in the 70s. He was a famous football manager who was also a socialist. But all those kind of people are still in football. Among the players, okay, maybe it's hard to believe that some of those millionaires are socialists, but I'm sure they have social consciences, and many of them are Muslims, and people will know the name Mo Salah. We have to get those people onto our side, not just in their heads, but actually out in public, making the statements against what these people are trying to do to our football in this country, and build a mass movement like we did in the 70s, uniting people from the Labour Party to the left and to the right of the Labour Party. Anyone that agrees with us, we cannot allow fascism to get a toehold in this country, and turn the mass movements that we've been building over the past few years into a mass movement against fascism. And that's why we're here today. So thanks everybody for coming out. Black and white unite and fight, smash DFLA, or the DFLA, or whatever they're called.
And isn't that true, whatever they're called? Because every now and again they repackage themselves, relabel themselves, but actually we know who they are for real. They are Nazis and they are racist, and they're not welcome in this city. And my next speaker I want to introduce is someone that's actually been at the heart locally of helping us build this movement against the racists. He represents Unite the Community Branch. Evan Pritchard. Evan.
Greetings everyone. I'm not know whether it's great to be back here again or a bit of a pain, to be honest, because clearly, as everybody has said, we had a good success 2 weeks ago, and it is a shame that we've got to be back here again. Hello. Just ignore them. Nazis out! 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 Nazis scum! Nazi 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 scum! Off our street! Nazi scum! Off our street! Who are you? Anyway, as I was saying, one question, of course, that some of these guys might be interested in thinking about is if their mate Tommy is such a hero,
then why did he say sorry to the court when he was in court recently, if he did nothing wrong? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the life of Brian. He's not the Messiah, he's just a naughty boy. Or he's not the Führer, he's just a naughty boy. Anyway, as I say, I'm from the Greater Manchester branch of Unite Community Membership. On the subjects of football, I'm very proud of the fact that my regional full-timer, Sheila Coleman, was one of the main activists in the Hillsborough Justice campaign. So, you know, while we're on the subject of football, and I think that is the sort of thing that we should be proud about in terms of mixing football and politics. Not what these characters are trying to do. People talk about football not being used for politics. Sometimes, unfortunately, we can't avoid it. Well, people have mentioned about the state about Manchester historically, and about austerity, and about the effects of cuts and whatever. One thing that I would like to point out, and one thing I'm really proud about, again, that the Unite Community branch has been involved in Manchester and the surrounding area, is campaigning around the question of homelessness, which I have noticed that occasionally that's another issue that sometimes these characters try to exploit. It is funny, isn't it? The more buildings that we see being put up in Manchester, the more homeless people we see on the streets. It's an absolute disgrace. And it is something that we really need to do something about, and not allow it to be exploited by these awful, horrible, racist characters. Because a point was made, you know, there is a lot of anger, and there's a lot of reason to be angry in this society. As was also said, that anger needs to be directed in a positive direction at the real enemies, not against people within our own communities or people in other communities, but at the real enemy, the people who are causing the real problems in this society. And it's not immigrants, it's not Muslims, it's not any members of any particular faith. It's the people who run this society and who are very pleased and very happy to see people diverting their anger against their neighbours and against members of other communities. And one thing I'd like to finish by doing as well, on a positive note, in terms of what we should be fighting for, and not just what we should be fighting against. On the 30th of June, it's the anniversary of the formation of the National Health Service. Something as British, those of us who are British, we should be proud of. And we should be doing everything we can to defend it. And there's a national demonstration in London on that day, and I would encourage as many people as possible to go on that demonstration. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so we just saw a crowd of them, a very small crowd, can I say, walk past. A very small crowd, bearing in mind that they told us they were going to get thousands out today. This is their national demonstration. Well, maybe it's going to take them a while to get themselves down there, so we're going to give them a bit of time, help them build their numbers. But until that happens, we're going to hold the centre of Manchester, which is what we're doing here today. So I'm going to encourage you all to hang around. I know you all want to rush off and see them and have a bit of a laugh, because actually they're not in the thousands that they told them were going to be. But we're just going to give them a bit of time. Bearing in mind that they've been boasting all week about this being their big one, let's see what they can pull out today. So my next speaker, again, really, really proud to have our next speaker. As I said, the reason the DFLA have been able to build is that the climate of Islamophobia we see in society today. People have talked about the past, where it was the Jews, or the Irish, or the black, but today it is the Muslim community under attack. And it isn't just from the thugs in the street. This thing comes from the top of society. When the top of society points a finger at a community within the wider society, it's not a surprise that the racists latch onto that, and that's what they're doing. And one of the reasons that Muslims are the target today is because there are politicians and mainstream press who should know better, who will tell you that the biggest threat to British society today is Muslims like myself who choose to cover my head with a piece of cloth. They see that as a threat to British values, whatever those British values are, because I can tell you this, the British values that Theresa May holds on to are not the British values that we here today are celebrating. So I want to introduce my next speaker, who's a very good friend of mine. She represents the LGBT+ Against Islamophobia group here in Manchester. Anna's going to say a few words. Anna.
Great to see you. Great to see a lot of faces I saw last couple of 2 weeks ago. I do want to latch on to the fact that in many ways the Muslim community is the target by a lot of people this week. In the 80s, people like myself were the targets under Section 28. We were said that we were a threat to British society. But now they're using us as a scapegoat, saying our existence, and if they allow Muslim people into our country, we are, people like myself, LGBT people are in danger, and that's why we can't allow Muslim refugees in. But you can't go ahead and say, 20 years ago I was a threat to society, and now use me as your trump card when all of a sudden you care about what matters to me. You can't go around and say, I come from an area, I live in Moss Side. You can't turn around and tell me that my neighbours hate me simply because they come from they have a completely different background to me. And I refuse to be used as a scapegoat from the people in power at the top in the Tory government. I refuse to be used as a scapegoat by people like the DFLA. When we all know the first thing they do, they see people like me, they hurl abuse at us, extremely homophobic, transphobic abuse at us. You can't go around saying you care about us, but in the next breath, hurl torrents of abuse at us. So, like I said, I refuse to have any of this sort of stuff used in my name, saying that these groups are against homophobia, when they are the first groups that turn around and hurl homophobic abuse at us. So like it says on the banner there, no to Islamophobia, no to racism, no to fascism, yes to equality and diversity, solidarity.
Okay, today we talked about those that are at the forefront of the attacks, not just from the racists down the road in All Saints Park, but also from the politicians and the media who tell us actually not only Muslims are a threat, but immigrants and refugees. Well, I want to introduce two speakers now who are actually themselves fighting for a right to be here, who have been at the forefront of the attacks on this Tory government, who have been at the forefront of the attacks on the press. When you have the likes of the Daily Mail constantly start putting out stories about Muslims, about refugees, about immigrants, about people that have fled dire situations, who have come here for safety. These people from across the world that see Britain as a safe haven, can I say those people are welcome here? And I'm glad that they see Britain as a safe haven. It's just unfortunate that Theresa May doesn't share the same vision for this country. So can I introduce two speakers who are right now fighting at the forefront of that struggle?
So your speakers are from RAPAR, which is the human rights organisation based in the City Centre here. The first speaker is Bali Kayangwa from the Congo. His petition will be circulating here. It needs your postcode on it, so we can add it onto the 38 degrees. He's a leader of Apareco, which is the movement fighting for the rights of Congolese people around the world. The second speaker is Farheen Raja. She's been fighting for 10 years for her safety. She's from Pakistan. On Thursday, she was awarded refugee status.
Hello everyone, I'm Bali Koyangwa. I'm Congolese from DRC. I'm a member of RAPA. Now I'm a leader of Apareco Liverpool. I'm be proud to be one of you, one of us, because now the bad environment against the migrant is general in Europe, in the world. If you listen what happened now in Italy and everywhere, the situation is not good for us. But one year ago, I wrote an article, it's in WAPA website. If you read this article, you can understand why, for myself, we are here. And we will understand why we are scapegoated, no reason. Now, in my country, there are the bad things. 2 weeks ago, I made a speech before one of you. I told them, if you need to fight for the racism in the world, we can't forget the Congo, because in my country we are a kind of racism different, because my country is very rich in the mineral, and its mineral is using for the iPhone you download me now, and the people are killed every day, and the wife are the wife every day. Now, between 1993 to 2003, the UN counts 6 million people are killed. But since 2003, no count official. But my movement and some organization counts, now there are 12 million people. 12 million are killed. And my movement, Apareco, we're fighting to freedom my country. To freedom my country, sorry. And in this fight, we can't win ourselves. We need your support to be in this country. First it was something the pain for me, because I left my country. But when I came here, I realized another fight. The fight for racism, the fight for equality. And now I think, if you can save my life for now, because in this article, I explained why I can't back now. And I'm proud for you, because we are a minority now, the people who stand up to the racism. And because I say I'm proud to be one of you. And it's very important, if we stay together, and in the future, this culture of liberty, of freedom, of equality, of tolerance, some refugee, when we back in our country, we will share this culture. It's very important, but I beg you, if you can sign the petition for me, it's very important, because I need to be alive for now and to fight for the freedom in my country. Thank you very much.